Good morning, everyone. This meeting of the California Agricultural Labor Relations Board is now called to order. First, we will go through the roll. Board Member Broad.
Present.
Board Member Flores. Oh, and they're on mute. Okay. Board Member Hall. Great. And Board Member Lightstone.
Here.
Thank you. A few housekeeping things. Here also with us today are staff from the ALRB. We have our Executive Secretary, Santiago Avila Gomez, as well as our analyst, Satya, here if you're having any technical difficulties. We'll first go through the business portion of the meeting and then open up for public comment prior to the board going into closed session. On to our next agenda item, the approval of the most recent meeting minutes from March 14th. May I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Thank you. May I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right. The meeting minutes from March 14th are now approved. There is no chair report today, so I will turn it over for our next agenda item to the Executive Secretary for the report on elections, unfair labor practice complaints, and other matters. Santiago?
Thank you. Good morning, Chair Hussey and members of the board. I want to note that I believe that our two board members in the PERB space in Glendale may be having audio issues communicating with us, but they can hear. Cynthia, did you have your hand up?
Okay, we can see you, but we can't hear you, and your device is unmuted. Okay. All right.
Okay. All right. Well, turning to the executive report, which is available online at the ALRB's website under the Meetings tab, and this covers the period from the date of our last public meeting where we had reports. Apologize, I believe that's March 8th. But for today, I have a consolidated complaint to report on J&G Ferry Farms, LLC, and California Giant, Inc. That case number 2022 CE 018 SAL, and involved the commodity of strawberries in Santa Barbara County, and that was filed on March 11th. And I'm sorry, I've got, not sure if folks can hear me. I have a very low, okay, good. It looks like folks on Zoom can hear me. All right. Turning next to a complaint that's been settled. That's Destiny Farms, LLC, 2021 CE 002 SAL, involving the commodity of vegetables in Santa Barbara County. The General Counsel filed an advisement that they have reached an informal bilateral settlement agreement, and that was filed on March 19th, yesterday. Turning to administrative orders, since our last meeting, 2 admin orders have been issued by the board. The first, Edwin Brazil Dairy, and that's ALRB admin order number 2024-03, that issued on March 12th, and that was an order granting General Counsel's request for subpoena enforcement. The admin orders are also available on our website. The next admin order was in Wonderful Nurseries, LLC, and that admin order number is 2024-04, and that issued on March 18th, and that order denied a renewed motion to state certification and set for hearing some objections and dismissed some objections. Finally, turning to pending matters, currently before the board are DMB Packing Corp., doing business as the Damari Company, the ALJ decision on the hearing on objections issued on March 18th. Exceptions are due April 8th and replies on April 18th. And finally, Wonderful Nurseries, LLC, the representation majority support petition 2024 RM 002. There have been 2 motions filed by the United Farm Workers of America. one request relating to the board's denial of its motion for dismissal of the employer's objections, and that was filed March 19th. And then today, a motion for board order requiring the employer to disclose to the UFW specified declarations. That concludes my report, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Santiago. Can you share the case number again for the complaint that was filed in J&G Farms?
Yes, that's 2022 DE 018 SAL, and there's an additional T charges which I don't have before me, but that is the lead.
Okay, thank you so much. We do not have a litigation report, so we will go on to our General Counsel's report with General Counsel Julie Montgomery. Julie?
Good morning, Chair Seat and board members. Good to see everybody. I have a couple of settlements to announce, and as the Destiny Farms one is brand new, I don't yet have that information, so I will save that one for next meeting, but I have a couple of others here. One is involving a lettuce worker in Monterey County who filed a charge against Bud Antle and Dole on, that was in June of 2022. And the charge claims that Bud Antle retaliated against the worker by suspending and firing them because they complained to the supervisor and foreman that their lettuce machines were going faster than workers could keep up. And they weren't able to maintain the pace of the machines. The ALRB filed a complaint on December 29th, 2023. And on March 19th, I guess that was just yesterday, the parties executed a informal bilateral settlement agreement, and the respondent agreed to pay the worker $20,000, which includes back pay, interest, excise tax liability, and payment in lieu of reinstatement. And the respondent also agreed to our standard non-monetary remedies of noticing, and posting, and mailing. We also have a settlement of a charge that was filed in October of 2023 against a grape harvester in Sonoma County called Sanchetti Farming. And that charge alleges that Sanchetti Ranch retaliated against a worker by terminating his employment because he made a complaint to Cal OSHA and also complained to the owner about how the supervisor treated workers. And after the charge was filed, the employer reinstated the worker, and he still continues to work there. So that was a quick remedy that we were able to get for the worker because he engaged with our process. So I was really happy to see that. And then the parties reached a settlement with the ALRB, and the company is going to pay the worker his lost wages, which equals $1,818. And we also got the same standard noticing remedies, and also our staff will be conducting a supervisor training for the company's supervisors and managers. So those are our settlements that I have to report on. And then with respect to outreach, just since our last meeting, our staff has been providing office hours at various more remote locations to increase the ALRB's accessibility out in these communities, more rural communities, including Santa Paula, in Eastern Ventura County with Poder Popular. Also, our staff has been conducting office hours with Cause in Santa Maria. And some of our staff attended an agricultural expo at the Monterey County Ag Commissioner's office on March 7th. They also tabled and distributed materials at a wage clinic on March 12th, hosted by the Labor Commissioner's office in St. Peter's Episcopal Church in Santa Maria. And they also provided a virtual training to caseworkers and outreach staff at the Central Valley Opportunity Center who serve Madera, Merced, and Stanislaus counties. and they did a radio interview on KBBF's program Líderes del Futuro that broadcast to the Sonoma County and surrounding areas. And they also provided a supervisor training for workers in MyCop's professional development program called La Tierra que Sembramos, which I think translates to, the earth that we cultivate, or the land that we cultivate, in Santa Maria. And also last week they tabled and provided a training presentation at a farm worker convention hosted by Puente and Coastside Hope in Pescadero in San Mateo County. So those are just some of the events that our staff have been participating in the community. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Julie. I don't see Daniela on. I don't know if anyone else is on who went to the event on Sunday in Half Moon Bay. I'd love to hear about that at some point, or maybe a subsequent update to the board, just to hear how that went. I know since the tragic events of last year, we've been really looking at identifying opportunities, since that there was a gap there in terms of how much kind of interaction we had with the ag communities there. So I'm excited to learn about our participation. I see a hand up from the regional director for Region 1, Jessica.
Yes, thank you for asking. It's an event worth mentioning. It was very well organized and very well attended by farm workers. The NASA astronaut Jose Hernandez, who was a former farm worker himself, was the keynote speaker, opened the conference, and he was very inspirational, very, very easily connected with the audience. Farm workers that were in attendance lined up to take a picture with him afterwards, and he took a picture with every single person in line. After that, it was followed by a panel of farm workers, 4 gentlemen who spoke about their experience in the fields that related to sacrifices, related to improvements that they've seen, and related to issues that they would like to see improvement on. So it was very informative for myself and Daniela to listen to them. And then we conducted a workshop about the ALRB, which was attended by 25 attendees, including a staff person from the San Mateo County Agricultural Commissioner's Office, who was very interested in getting in contact with us trainings. And then there was a panel of women farm workers towards the end, and a lot of community-based institutions and elected officials' offices and other like legal aid services were there in the tabling part. And it was a long all-day event, but very glad we were able to participate. I think it was really important, and received a lot of feedback about the need for more information and resources in San Mateo County.
Wow, thank you so much. That sounds wonderful. I'm curious, can you share just a brief summary of what some of the issues were, I think, in that first panel that you mentioned that the workers were raising?
Sure. They talked about have been some collective action that workers have taken to try and improve wages. So they talked about that in regards to improvements they've seen. They also mentioned that the ability to earn overtime more in alliance with other workers and other industries has been something that they talked about in terms of an achievement that's been accomplished in regards to, or as a result of, I should say, nonprofits and others organizing to really push to make that happen. In regards to the things that could still be improved, wages were discussed, as well as what workers often describe as favoritism, so it's unequal treatment, not necessarily always based on legally protected categories for discrimination. However, they could be, I don't know, there's a variety of reasons why they allege that management treat groups of workers differently, and that's a really difficult issue at the workplace, because they believe that speaking up about it further makes them a target for further disparate treatment. And so those were the two main issues they talked about of what could still be improved.
Interesting. Did you get a sense of, do they have Indigenous workers as part of the farm worker population, at least as you saw at that conference? Were they
Yeah,
participating?
that's a good question. They had definitely a mix of workers, and there was workers from Oaxaca. One of the presenters spoke in Mixteco, and there was a couple of workers because you mentioned the tragedy that occurred there. There was a couple of workers from that mushroom farm and from some other mushroom farms in the area.
Interesting. And then related to that, I think that exposed, we talk frequently, like many of our materials, many of our kind of outreach is focused on organizations that also are affiliated or partnered with Latino or Indigenous-based groups, but there are other groups in the agricultural industry. It's not monolithic, including Asian groups. And I'm wondering if any workers or organizations kind of servicing that population participated, or if there's any discussion about how to improve services to those farm workers.
Not in like the workshop that I was in, or that I was part of a conversation that day, but I believe that Puente was one of the large organizers of the event. I'm not very familiar with them, but I will say that all the signage was in English and Spanish, and then I don't want to assume that it was Chinese, but it was another language that looked familiar, or I mean, looked like it could be Chinese, excuse me, but I'm not exactly sure what specific language. So they were definitely cognizant of an Asian population of farm workers, and the materials that were written included the three languages.
Well, thank you so much. That sounds like it was a really great event, and I'll probably be following up with you and Daniela just about
Sure.
other opportunities to head that way. One thing I wanted to touch on as well, I'll just note the settlement with the charge that was filed, I believe, in Sonoma County at the winery in October. That's already resulted in a reinstatement. Just want to commend the work there. I think we love to see it. That's the goal: quick resolution with as little friction as possible, hopefully. It sounded, if I heard correctly, that was based off of a termination due to the worker making a complaint to Cal OSHA. To the extent possible, I'd love to learn more about what, if anything, is happening with that Cal OSHA complaint, and if it's pending investigation or if there was resolution. As a reminder, as I think our executive team and some of our other staff know, having better collaborations with our sister agencies and doing referrals and sort of joint enforcement and really being that one-stop shop for workers is several of the goals, I should say, for the budget change proposal that's pending. And so just love to hear kind of how we're addressing that. I don't expect that answer right now, but just maybe we can get more information later. And then lastly, just a friendly reminder to GC and our NRDs. As Santiago mentioned, we did issue an administrative order authorizing subpoena enforcement if the regions can keep us apprised of if they do end up going to court or if those are resolved in other ways. There's a few others that have been approved in the last few months where I don't know if we've had any follow-up information. Certainly if it's no longer necessary because the respondent has complied, just a simple update on that would be appreciated by the board. And that's it that I have. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Okay, all right, thank you very much. Our next report, we do not have an administrative services report. We had that recently. We do not have a legislative report. On regulations, I don't think we have a substantive update. I will note, as I think we shared at the March 6th meeting, the board did enter formal rulemaking, I believe, on March 8th on the regulatory package, implementing AB 113, better known as kind of the card check penalties and settlement or appeal bond. Parties can request a public hearing. I think given the vast nature of those regulations, the complexity, and certainly the interest, I would like to the board to actually call for a hearing on that during the public comment period during one of our regularly scheduled meetings. We have a meeting April 17th, a board meeting, and that's prior to the public comment period closing. And so I think it would be good to just have a hearing in the course of our meeting, allowing the parties to come forward.
Do you need a motion? Can we do that now? Can we set that thing now?
Yes, I believe. I don't know if I need a motion, but we'll go for it. Can I have a motion?
All right, I'll move that we set the matter for public hearing.
All right. Can I have a second? Thank you, Member Light. Thank you, Regulatory Subcommittee. All those in favor say aye. I'm seeing thumbs.
Aye.
In Glendale. All right. Thank you. So there will be more formal notice about that regulatory hearing, and certainly parties are not restricted from only submitting comments during that period, but it provides an opportunity, I think, for the full board to engage, and given the import of what these mean and kind of making sure that we have regulations that are working. I think that'll be helpful, and I really encourage all members of the public, stakeholders, to provide us feedback. We really learn a lot from your perspective in terms of how to make sure that these regulations implement the policy goals and are also workable for the workings of the board, and making sure the procedures go as smoothly as possible. Okay, that concludes the regulation portion. Next, we have public comment, just a few housekeeping. For those who reached out prior to the meeting, Santiago will first call you up, and if you did not reach out prior to the meeting and wish to make a public comment, you may still do so. There's one of several ways. You can message Santiago in the chat, or you can use on the Zoom application the raise hand feature as well. We ask that you not provide substantive comments in the chat. They will not be part of the public record. To the extent relevant, please list your name and organization if applicable. If you're having technical difficulties, just let us know. You can also email us or message us, and Santiago's email and Satya's email are on, I believe, the agenda on our website. And additionally, please mute your device while you're not speaking, as we have limited ability to kind of manage the audio control. And as a friendly reminder, the board cannot discuss any pending case matters before us. And with that, I will turn it over to Santiago. Do we have anyone in the queue?
We do. Mr. Michael Miller, go ahead and unmute yourself and commence your public comment. Thank you.
Board member, board chair members, can you hear me? Yes, thank you so much. My name is Michael Miller. I'm representing the California Association of Wine Grape Growers. I will be brief this morning in my comments. We want to bring to your attention a potential problem that the board may need to investigate and initiate an enforcement action. Highlighted by multiple media outlets and echoed throughout the state by concerned growers, there are reports of agricultural employees attending events aimed at accessing free public services and support. At those events, the employees are asked to disclose their employer, provide personal contact information, and then are asked to sign documents as a condition of receiving these government services that are intended to be free and provided with no strings attached. We are told that those signatures are then being used for card check purposes. By collecting signatures from agricultural employees without informing them of the purpose or implications, there is a lack of informed consent, which would constitute coercion and manipulation. This would likely be a violation of Chapter 4 of the Agricultural Labor Relations Act, which prohibits unfair labor practices. We respectfully request that if the board receives complaints regarding this matter, that it immediately and fully investigates those complaints. Should the board find evidence of unfair labor practices, we ask the board to take immediate enforcement action. Furthermore, if the board does find such a violation, we recommend that the board extend its examination to all card check activities of organizations statewide that are engaged in similar practices. This would ensure that the rights of agricultural employees are safeguarded. If these allegations are indeed substantiated, and it is imperative that such behavior is not tolerated. Thank you again for your time this morning and your anticipated timely action on this important issue. Have a great day.
Thank you. Do we have any others wishing to make public comment?
Not at this time.
Okay, I'll give one moment to see if there's anyone else. Okay, and not seeing anyone else that wish to make public comment at this time, it is 10:27. The board will recess into closed session. Thank you.
Okay, everyone's admitted and we're recording again. You are muted. Hold on, let me unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. It is 3:02 p.m. and the board has returned from closed session. The next item on the agenda is board announcements. The board has scheduled a meeting off its regular meeting schedule calendar for next Wednesday, March 27th at 10 a.m. Details about how to participate are on the meeting notice on our website. Thank you, and we are now adjourned. Bye, everyone.